because I don't know that he remembers me, but the day we used to do this work Kenya, and we call and we meet and then we speak about these things. I don't think there was Google then, and there was nobody to speak to me about depression. So nilikuwa najisolve. You see, I think I developed ulcers, I hated people, loved some, I developed suicide tendencies. There was a time I planned to kill someone.
Hey.
Yeah, seriously, by the way.
Yes.
But outside, when you meet people, you will show brave. Because through the rite of passage where I come from, we are taught to be men and not to show emotion, not to show weakness. Until I met this man. Yes, Dr. Frank Jacob. I was actually excited when I had you coming. Because that's when I started beginning by journey to understanding what mental health is. Mimi nilikuwa najua kama una kinonda ama tumbo hayumi ama hautapiki, you're okay. So even you guys that are seated here, how many of you really understand what mental health is? Mina zisikianga tu. And then when you try to speak about mental health, when you're with your boys squad, you look like a weakling. Umechizi nini bana, wewe kunywa bia mazata story moja. So I used to be offered beer every time I tried saying sisikipo. Those guys would be like, tukupeleke wasiamu. Then I say, hapana, nasikia tu siku za hivi. Piga tu chupili mazia alafu kaepoa. So I did a lot of talks, I did a lot of beer. To pick up bank kidogo at some point in my life. But it did help, no? And it was until years later, after it had affected me very badly at some point because of drinking, my neighbor ikaanza kuwa na story, stopped drinking 12 years ago, lakini saa zingine peer pressure, ukikutana na mtu anakunywa, anapata kunywa kidogo alafu naacha. So there is all that. So these kind of forums are very important because they did exist. What existed was that rite of passage, 3, 6 months, whatever, depending on where you went, or those who went. And then after that, boom, you're thrown into the world. Correct. Is there anything that you know?
Nothing.
For 15 years, I wasn't going to church. I was angry because my mom passed away and I was thinking, what's wrong with you, God? This is the only mom I have. Me, I don't have brothers, sisters, all those things. Sinanga, so she was like, I'm supposed to. So my mom passed away. And I left church for 15 years. So within that blank, your period, you're actually on your own.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's why you will think of killing yourself, thinking of killing someone who has messed you up, those kind of things.
And that is mental health right there.
So that's mental health.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. I used to.
Really?
When it comes to mental health, the ladies, the girls are in a better position than we are. More men, more boys commit suicide than ladies. Because girls, ladies, they have got support systems. Men do not. They've been brought up to know that they can't show their feelings. So they hold things together. And then it is that last straw that breaks the camel's back and somebody ends up committing suicide because they've got nobody to turn to. It's a high time we understood as men there is nothing wrong with asking for help. But you need to ask the right people. Don't ask your boys who will tell you, that is something small, forget about it, have a drink. No. We need to take mental health in this country very, very seriously. And it needs to be completely free, especially even just for men. Have clinics where men can go and talk to somebody, because you'll be amazed at how much healing there is when you've told your problems to somebody. Many times if they're good, they will get you to give the solution. You're not going there for them to tell you what to do. It's to guide you, it's to listen to you. And what do you think you should do? And if you do this, what are the consequences? So we need to take mental health very clearly. We need to understand there's absolutely nothing wrong with a man crying.
Yes.
We have emotions.
Yes.
If you're feeling bad, go ahead and cry.
Correct.
Yes.
About crying, please try and cry when it's raining, so people don't know.
Anyway, just two questions before now we hear the true professionals in matters related to mental health. Tafadhali, Letoo, Acheni. Peleka nyuma kuna jamaa wameinua mikono huko vizuri sana. Kama tuanze na wewe tu. Can I ask a question then you can answer? Okay. Please say your name, where you're from. Arakanaka ndo tujue.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Victor Hamisi. I champion an initiative that is called Check on a Man, because when I lost my parents, I was housed by an uncle who dragged me and raped me. Then I was a street boy for 5 years. So, 6 times suicide attempt, and I'm championing to see men being able to speak what they go through. And I usually say that crying does not mean or make you less a man. Yeah? And it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay for you as a man to keep quiet and die silently. So I want to ask 3 questions to Chris Kirubi because I've met him.
Oh, sorry. That one is deceased. This is Chris.
No, sorry, Chris Kirubi. Sorry.
Yes, always in peace.
Sorry, yeah, thanks. Number one, I want to ask Kirubi one question. As a man, how do you brand yourself to be a brand? Because a lot of young men, they meet people. I've met you several times. There are times in the bush, in the Mpaka, yeah. But if you tell us, how as a man can you brand yourself to be a good brand? That you do not need to introduce yourself, but your name will introduce you. Yep. And then the same question to you only, how can we tell young men to be patient? Because a lot of men want quick things. Anataka kuangalia huko na Range Rover, atoke Mathare, kesho kuwekare. How can we dunga wanaume na siri njia kujua kwamba license process kama hiyo ndio. Number 2, I want to ask to a faith counselor. One of the worst things that is happening today is that a lot of men do not know that crying is a therapy. Yeah? Many men do not know that you opening up and sharing what you go through, in fact, gives you the healing more than you kunyamazia. I'll give an example with myself. I tried to commit suicide 6 times when I was a street boy. I used to wash clothes for a living. I did man enough through movie, yeah? And at the end of the day, I'm not where I was, but I'm not where I want to be, but I'm this sick of maligilikuwa. What can we do to sensitize in terms of, badala ya kukutana place, upewe pombe, ukunywe ulewe, ubaki hapo, we can meet and discuss what we go through as men, and hatutaichukua kama a weapon to wait when you're above, umerise, when your shaft arise, and then we use it to bring you down. Because one of the worst weapons that men bring down is us men ourselves. Yeah, ukiona shaft amepostiwa mahali amefanya kitu, you start using that to bring him down. To moving. I would say religion. I respect the choice of faith. I do not respect religion at all. I respect the choice of faith because mbinguni ni ya Mungu, ni hata mwanana kaingia. Yep. And I usually say that God transacts with us on the basis of faith, not religion, because religion is man-made for self-beneficiary for men. Yeah. What can we do? Yakoma, as a man, you meet your fellow man Muhammad and respect his choice of faith and tell him, I want you to groom your child to read the Quran to be in his heart, and I want you to send Victor's son, to be able to read the word, the Bible, and the word to be in his heart. So that these are all avenues of us meeting God. What can we do to sensitize the combat? We respect each other's choice of faith. Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Those are very great questions, so I have to just ask you to give me a second. Let the panelists respond. I will start with the attorney. Remember his question was...
Please don't switch our mics off, please.
Just leave the mics on, guys. Anyway.
Okay, let me, for the sake of emphasis,
Yes.
explain my earlier position. The question of suicide is terribly important. I want to correct my brother here. People commit adultery. People commit crimes. Okay? Because feeling so desperately hopeless that you feel you will get out of in the next world is 90% of the time the result of a mental illness. And therefore you don't commit diabetes, you don't commit hypertension, you die by hypertensive stroke and so on. So let's get that one clear first and foremost.
Ahu, let's hear you. Yes.
The second thing I'll say very quickly is that the best predictor that a person will actually die by suicide is one previous attempt. So if you hear your sister, your cousin has attempted suicide once, for goodness sake, take them to a competent, qualified person with training on how to look after people with suicidal thoughts. The chances are they will be diagnosed either with bipolar disorder, major depressive illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, some form of treatable mental illness. And the final thing I want to say, I said earlier I was happy to be here, not excited. I haven't changed completely from that position. But I'm happy to report I've been around this business of mental health for almost 45 years now, after I'm retired. This conversation is one of a kind on the continent of Africa. There is no other African country that will have experts like these ones here talk to us about their personal mental health and well-being. There is no way you will hear people stand there and talk about their own attempted suicide in the way that we're doing it. What is the point? We are known as Kenyans as marathon runners. This conversation about mental health is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So long as I've got to do with Abraham, this conversation will continue. But it is moving at the right direction and the right pace. Don't worry about where we are going. Be happy and grateful that we are moving in the right direction. As this is Chris said, 20 years ago, this no one find a conversation anywhere. It was always a sin to talk about mental health. Now, anyone, even in the bar when you're drinking coffee, whatever. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's go to Pastor. I'll get to you, Chris, because he mentioned on faith and religion.
Yeah, I think I agree with him. He made a statement more than a question. That faith is a relationship with God. Religion is the industry around it. And I think what is important is how we relate with God, all of us here. And if we relate with God in a certain way, we should respect others. I think all religions that are worth their salt, that they ask people to respect others. They may want to tell them what they believe in, but they respect them. That's how I would respect anyone else. And that's not you talking about mental health. And you mentioned money enough. 45,000 men now have done money enough. And I think why men have come to that problem is not because it's greater than any other problem, but it's the invitation of men to come together in a circle and begin to talk about their issues. I talk about ABCD very quickly. A is one of the reasons why we get a lot of stress, we feel a lot of stress as men, is because we don't admit our problems. We live in denial. You know there's an issue, you don't want to admit it, you want to look like you're with it, you're strong enough, you can handle it, you don't want to admit. And when we don't admit our challenges, then we set ourselves up to fail, and fail badly. So A is admission. B is boldly facing that problem. If there's something we need to deal with, money, or a woman, or something else, if we don't sit down and begin to deal with that problem, it will trouble us because we're not facing it. We're running away from it. We're not facing the issue. C is community. Community. And that's why I love this. Congratulations to all the men who organized this, all that we have had. Community. The fact that we can get together and talk about issues. A man is made a man among other men. That's what I believe. You can never be a man alone, never walk alone. you are. Never walk alone, whether you're Arsenal or Man U. Never just walk alone. You need other men around you. You need to walk with other men. Community is very important. That you have some people you relate with, you talk with, and you're vulnerable with. And where necessary, cry with, so that you may deal with the issues. Lastly, is depend on God. I mean, for me as a Christian, when things get tough, I bring it to God in prayer. And that gives me a certain relief that almost nothing else can give me. So ABCD, meet your challenges as a man, it doesn't make you weaker. B, boldly face those issues. Don't sidestep them or circumvent them. Just face them and deal with them. C, make sure you're not walking alone. You have a community around you. And D, depend on God. And I believe as we do that, we're going to be healthier as men and be able to contribute to the welfare of the society.
Okay. I just want to bring to one of our partners here from AAR. We want to discuss matters of mental health. Letoo, microphone. Okay, ask a question, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, my name is John Parit. I come from Letoo. I'm very grateful for this conference. We were just doing our men's conference this morning, yesterday, and I'm glad to see Swale here. He was bringing live during the 1 o'clock news. I just have 2 questions, if you allow me. One is, I want to direct it to Dr. Frank Jenga. Recently, we've been watching the news, and within this country, we've been seeing a huge number of young men who have gone into drugs and drugs abuse. And I know this is a huge problem in our country right now, because as they abuse drugs, we have less and less of them. We've seen women demonstrating because they cannot bear children. I wonder how you can help us to help the fellow men in terms of how we can be able to combat drug addiction, especially among men. My second question will go to Pastor, the issue of fatherhood, which is related. As more and more young men and men actually use drugs, then there are very few and less children getting born. And I think that has really affected even the perception and the father figure that is in the society within our country here. We have there are some schools that right now, as we are talking, there are very few students coming into the school because no children are getting born. And that's why, because men are not doing their work. So I wonder how we can advise the men in this country in that regard. Thank you very much.
Okay. Just let him make his comments, and as you get ready to do that, we'll get back to definitely Daktari to have his question, and also on the issue of population, and the issue of growth, and the issue of the next generation, which is also a very, very big problem that is facing this country. You know, we've had in the news before, and Swale can confirm. We have had stories of women taking charge to go and remove men from bars, and also they've raided, watering holes where men frequent, and because they want the men home, but whether it's for them to have the voting numbers increase or not, that is a very a challenging question that you place there. Hello, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
Thank you. My name is Fred Yanchabra. I come from Peace.
Okay.
I'm glad we're here discussing about them, because when I look at this audience, most of us are young, below 5 years.
Yes.
So my question is, when we talk of mental health, what's the cause of mental health? That's number one. Because mostly, if you give it on what mind, they'll tell you, I have tried to commit suicide. Why? You realize either there's a financial constraint somewhere, there's no breakthrough, or there's something going on somewhere in this young man's life.
Okay.
And that's where I had one of the speakers saying, most of the young men are kept by women. I'm not saying so, but it's true. Out here, you find young men being kept by women because they can't sustain themselves.
Okay.
Now, as life coaches, at what time do you learn that this young man is going to a next toilet and killing himself? At what point do you feel like that this young man I see that a point of losing hope in life. Two, but Jen, at what time do we learn like I need to see you? At what time do I need to learn like at what time I need to see a doctor to assist me? Lastly, I request the life court here